husband embarrassed me in front of his friends by calling our marriage an act of pity, but someone else in the room knew the truth. His name was Mitchell, and the look on his face told me everything. We were at the annual poker night Gordon insisted on hosting every January. 6 guys from his college fraternity crowded around our dining table, surrounded by beer bottles and cigar smoke. I was in the kitchen arranging cheese and crackers when I heard Gordon's voice boom through the archway. Honestly, he felt bad for me. I was 29, still single, working that dead-end receptionist job. He figured someone should give me a break. The table erupted in laughter. My hands froze on the serving platter. Classic Gordon, someone said. Always playing hero. I should have walked away. Instead, I stood there listening. Without him, I'd probably be living with my mom, adopting cats. More laughter. Except one voice. Mitchell didn't laugh. Mitchell had been Gordon's roommate senior year. Mitchell had been at our wedding. Mitchell had been there that night 5 years ago when everything actually started. I carried the platter out with shaking hands. Gordon didn't even glance at me as I set it down, but Mitchell did. Our eyes met for half a second before I retreated to the kitchen. I stayed there for the next 2 hours, scrubbing dishes that weren't dirty, reorganizing cabinets that didn't need it. When the game finally ended around midnight, I heard them gathering their coats. Then Mitchell appeared in the kitchen doorway asking if he could help with anything. I told him I was fine without turning around. He stepped closer and said we needed to talk. My pulse quickened. There was nothing to talk about. He asked if Gordon knew. Knew what? I finally turned to face him. Mitchell looked older now, his hairline receding, but his eyes still held that same intensity. That I was never the desperate one, he said quietly. The serving platter slipped from my hands, clattering into the sink. He'd seen the messages back in college. Gordon left his laptop open one night. Mitchell saw everything Gordon sent me. The begging, the promises, how Gordon swore he'd change if I just gave him another chance. My stomach dropped. Gordon chased me for 2 years, Mitchell continued. I kept saying no. Then suddenly I said yes, and 6 months later, we were married. What happened? Gordon appeared behind Mitchell, grinning. Just thanking her for hosting, Mitchell said smoothly. Gordon pulled him toward the door. As they left, Mitchell glanced back one more time. The look in his eyes said he wasn't done with this conversation. The door closed. The apartment fell silent. Mitchell was right. There was a story Gordon had never told his friends. A story about who really saved whom. A story about the real reason I finally said yes. And if Mitchell had seen those messages, then he might also know what Gordon had promised me in exchange for my hand in marriage. A promise Gordon made, but never kept. A promise that was about to expire. Tomorrow was the deadline. 5 years to the day since our wedding. 5 years since Gordon swore he'd make things right. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder I'd kept hidden for half a decade. Screenshots, bank statements, legal documents, everything I needed. Mitchell's text came through at midnight. I know about the deal. We should meet. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back confirming tomorrow at 2 at the coffee shop on 8th. When Gordon stumbled in an hour later, reeking of bourbon, I was already in bed. He collapsed beside me without a word. I lay there in the darkness listening to him snore. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow Mitchell would learn the full truth. Tomorrow Gordon would finally understand what happens when you break a promise to someone who's been counting down the days. The coffee shop on 8th Street was nearly empty when I arrived at 1:45. I chose a corner table where I could see the door. My hands wrapped around a mug of tea I didn't actually want. Mitchell walked in at exactly 2 o'clock, spotted me immediately, and made his way over. He looked different in daylight, tired, like he hadn't slept either. Can I get you anything? I asked as he sat down. He shook his head. I've been thinking about last night all day, he said. About what Gordon said. About those messages I saw years ago. I need to understand what happened. I took a sip of tea to buy myself time. What do you remember about that semester? I asked. Senior year? Spring? Mitchell leaned back in his chair. I remember Gordon was obsessed with you. He talked about you constantly, how you were different from other girls. How you actually challenged him. How you wouldn't give him the time of day no matter what he tried. That's accurate, I said. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through something. I still have them, he said. I took screenshots that night. I didn't know what to do with them. Whether I should tell someone. Whether it was my business. He turned the phone toward me. There on the screen were messages from Gordon to me from 5 years ago. Please just give me one chance. I know I messed up. I know I wasn't ready before. I've changed. I need you. I can't do this without you. Please. I looked away. Those weren't even the worst ones. Mitchell scrolled down. There were dozens more. I'll do anything. Name it. Whatever you need, I'll make it happen. Just say yes. Please, say yes. He put the phone away. You ignored him for months. Then suddenly in May, you responded. You agreed to meet him. 2 weeks later, you were engaged. Everyone was shocked. I was shocked. I stared into my tea. Do you remember what else was happening that May? Mitchell thought for a moment. Then his face changed. Your brother. My younger brother, I said quietly. He was 19, got into a car accident on his way back from college. Drunk driver ran a red light. My brother wasn't drinking. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I remember, Mitchell said. Gordon mentioned it. Said you were dealing with a family emergency. The medical bills were catastrophic. My brother survived, but barely. Traumatic brain injury, multiple surgeries, months in the ICU, then rehab facilities, experimental treatments. My parents had basic insurance that covered almost nothing. They were drowning. They refinanced the house twice, maxed out every credit card. My dad took a second job. My mom stopped sleeping. Mitchell's expression shifted to something like understanding mixed with dread. I was working as a receptionist making $32,000 a year, I continued. I gave them everything I had. It wasn't enough. Not even close. We needed $180,000 for the treatment that might actually help him, the treatment that might give him a chance at a normal life. Without it, the doctor said he'd need round-the-clock care forever. And Gordon, Mitchell said slowly. Gordon's family had money, real money. His father owned half the commercial real estate downtown. Gordon himself had a trust fund he'd inherit when he turned 30, but he also had access to a smaller fund immediately, for emergencies, for important investments. Mitchell closed his eyes. He paid for your brother's treatment. I met him for coffee on May 8th. He said he'd heard about my brother, said he wanted to help, no strings attached, just because he cared about me. I told him we couldn't accept charity. That's when he made the offer. What offer? Marry me, he said. Not charity. An investment in our future. Your brother gets the treatment. You get financial security. I get you. Everyone wins. That's not everyone winning, Mitchell said quietly. I know that now. But at the time, I was desperate. My brother was 19 years old, his whole life ahead of him. The doctor said every day we waited decreased his chances. Gordon promised me the money would be in my parents' account within 24 hours if I said yes. And it was. He transferred $180,000 the next morning. We got married 6 months later. Mitchell was quiet for a long time. What was the promise he broke? I pulled out my phone and opened a document. I'd saved everything. Every text, every email, every conversation. I showed Mitchell a message from Gordon dated 3 weeks before our wedding. This is the deal we're making, he'd written. I pay for your brother's treatment. You marry me. We stay married for 5 years. After 5 years, if you want out, I'll give you a clean divorce. No contest. You keep half of everything we've accumulated. And I'll give you an additional $200,000 for your trouble. Mitchell stared at the screen. He actually put it in writing. He was drunk when he sent it. But yes, he put it in writing. 5 years. Then I could walk away with enough money to start over. Enough to never be desperate again. And tomorrow is 5 years. Tomorrow is our anniversary. January 19th. 5 years exactly. Mitchell looked up at me. You've been counting down. Every single day, I said. For the first year, it was survival. Learning to live with someone I didn't love. Sharing a bed with someone who saw me as an acquisition. Gordon was fine at first. Attentive even. He played the role of devoted husband in public. But behind closed doors, he was different. Distant. He'd stay out late with friends. Come home drunk. Remind me how lucky I was that he saved my family. Did he hurt you? Mitchell asked carefully. Not physically. But there are other ways to hurt someone. He'd make comments about my job. How I should quit and just be his wife. How he was embarrassed when people asked what I did for a living. He wanted me to be arm candy. A trophy. Proof that he could have anything he wanted. I paused, remembering. By year 2, he stopped pretending. He'd openly flirt with other women at parties while I stood right there. His friends treated me like I was invisible. Or worse, like I was the help. Last night wasn't the first time he's called our marriage an act of pity. He said it before. Just never in front of someone who knew the truth. And you stayed because of the deal. I stayed because my brother needed ongoing care. The initial treatment worked. He recovered beyond anyone's expectations. He's 24 now. He finished college. He has a job, a girlfriend, a life. But it took years of follow-up care, physical therapy, cognitive therapy, more surgeries. My parents still have medical debt, but my brother is alive and thriving. That was worth 5 years. Mitchell shook his head slowly. Gordon has no idea what you sacrificed. Gordon thinks he rescued me, that I should be grateful, that I owe him something beyond what we agreed to. But tomorrow, that agreement ends. Tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce. Does he know? Not yet. I'm going to tell him tonight. I have a lawyer ready, documents prepared, everything in order. According to our prenup, which he insisted on ironically, I'm entitled to half our assets accumulated during the marriage, plus the $200,000 he promised. Will he fight it? Probably. But I have everything documented. Every promise, every agreement, and I have something else. What? Evidence of his affairs. 3 of them that I know of. Started in year 3. He thought I didn't know. Thought I was too stupid or too grateful to notice. But I noticed everything. I documented everything. If he tries to contest the divorce or withhold what he owes me, I'll use it. Mitchell leaned forward. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the only person who knows the truth, or part of it anyway. And because last night you looked at me like you understood, like you saw through Gordon's act. I needed someone to know, someone to validate that I'm not crazy, that I'm not the desperate charity case he makes me out to be. You're not, Mitchell said firmly. You're someone who made an impossible choice to save your brother. That's not weakness, that's strength. I felt tears threatening but pushed them back. I've spent 5 years being treated like I'm less than, like I should be grateful for scraps. Tomorrow I take my life back. What will you do? Mitchell asked. After. I've been saving, I said. Every dollar I could hide. I still work. Gordon hated it, but the prenup didn't forbid it. I've been putting money away in an account he doesn't know about. Once the divorce is final and I get what I'm owed, I'm leaving this city. My brother's stable now. My parents are okay. There's nothing keeping me here. Where will you go? I don't know yet. Somewhere I can start over, Somewhere no one knows me as Gordon's pity project wife? Mitchell reached across the table. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry I didn't say something 5 years ago. I saw those messages and I knew something was off. I should have asked, should have checked on you. You didn't know the whole story. No one did. Still, he said, you deserved better than this. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Mitchell's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. It's Gordon. He's asking where I am. Wants to grab lunch. Are you going to tell him we met? No, Mitchell said immediately. This is your story to tell. Your timeline. I'm just glad you trusted me with it. I stood up. Thank you for listening. For believing me. Mitchell stood too. Good luck tonight. And if you need anything, a witness. Someone to verify his behavior. I'll do it. I might take you up on that. We parted ways outside the coffee shop. I watched Mitchell walk toward the train station, then turned in the opposite direction. My phone buzzed. A text from Gordon. Where are you? We need to talk. My stomach tightened. That was unusual. Gordon never needed to talk in the middle of the day. I texted back asking what about. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, just come home. I caught a cab back to our apartment in Midtown. The doorman nodded as I entered. The elevator ride to the 12th floor felt longer than usual. When I opened the door, Gordon was sitting on the couch. Not drunk, not disheveled. Stone cold sober with his phone in his hand. We need to discuss something, he said without looking up. I set my bag down slowly. Okay. He held up his phone. I got an interesting call today. From my accountant. Apparently someone's been requesting financial documents, asking about asset division, marital property assessments. My heart stopped, but I kept my face neutral. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Gordon snapped. My lawyer called too. Said someone contacted them asking about prenuptial agreements. About what happens when a marriage of 5 years ends. I didn't respond. Gordon stood up. It's tomorrow, isn't it? 5 years. You've been waiting for 5 years to leave. We had an agreement, I said quietly. That was a drunk text, Gordon shouted. You can't actually think I meant that. That was just me trying to convince you to marry me. It wasn't a legally binding contract. You put it in writing. You made a promise. Promises change, he said, moving closer. People change. We're married. We built a life together. You can't just walk away because of something I said when I was desperate to have you. You paid for my brother's treatment in exchange for 5 years of my life. I've given you exactly what we agreed to. Now I want out. Gordon's face twisted. This is about last night. About what I said to the guys. You're that sensitive that you can't handle a joke. That wasn't a joke, I said, my voice rising. You humiliated me. You reduced our entire marriage to you doing me a favor. You've been doing that for 5 years. Making me feel small. Making me feel like I owe you something beyond what we agreed to. You do owe me, Gordon shot back. I saved your brother's life. I gave your family a future. Without me, he'd be in a nursing home right now. You should be grateful. I am grateful, I said. That's why I stayed for 5 years. That's why I endured your insults and your affairs and your friends treating me like garbage. I held up my end of the bargain. Now you need to hold up yours. Gordon laughed, a cold, harsh sound. You think you're getting $200,000 and half of everything we own? You're delusional. I'll fight this. I'll drag it out for years. You'll spend every dollar you have on lawyers and end up with nothing. Then I'll use what I have on you, I said calmly. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and opened a folder. Photos of him with other women, hotel receipts, text messages, screenshots of conversations I shouldn't have been able to see but did because he was careless with his passwords. 3 affairs, Gordon. 3 that I can prove, starting in year 3. His face went pale. You've been spying on me. I've been protecting myself. You want to fight the divorce? Fine. We'll go to court. I'll present every piece of evidence showing you violated our marriage. Your family cares about reputation, right? Your father's business partners. Your country club friends. What happens when they find out Gordon the golden boy has been cheating on his wife since before the marriage was even half over? Gordon stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You're bluffing. Try me, I said. File whatever you want. Contest whatever you want. I will burn your reputation to the ground. We stood there in our living room, 5 years of resentment and lies between us. Gordon's jaw worked like he was trying to find words. Finally, he said, you know what the saddest part is? I actually loved you. Back in college. Before all this. I really did. No, you didn't, I said. You loved the idea of me. The girl who wouldn't fall at your feet. The challenge. Once I said yes, once you had me, I stopped being interesting. I became just another possession. That's not true. Isn't it? When was the last time you asked me about my day? About my job? About anything in my life? When was the last time we had a real conversation that wasn't about your friends or your work or your plans? Gordon had no answer. I'm filing tomorrow, I said. You can make this easy or you can make it hard. But either way, I'm done. I walked to our bedroom and started pulling clothes from the closet. Gordon followed, watching from the doorway. Where are you going? A hotel. I'm not spending another night here. You're really doing this. I've been doing this in my head for 5 years. Now I'm just making it real. I packed a bag with essentials. Clothes, documents. The external hard drive with all my evidence safely backed up. When I walked past Gordon toward the front door, he grabbed my arm. Not hard. Just enough to stop me. Please, he said. His voice cracked. Can we just talk about this? We've been talking for 5 years, I said, pulling away. I'm done talking. I left our apartment for the last time. Left the marble countertops and the walk-in closets and the view of the city that never impressed me. Left the life I'd been living like a prison sentence. I checked into a hotel 3 blocks away, a modest room on the 8th floor. I sat on the bed and pulled out my phone. My lawyer's name was Victoria. She'd been preparing for this moment for 6 months. I texted her, "Tomorrow morning, let's file." Her response came immediately, "I'll have everything ready. See you at 9 a.m. Then I called my brother. He answered on the second ring, his voice bright and clear, the voice that almost didn't exist. "Hey, what's up? I need to tell you something," I said. He listened while I explained everything. The deal. The 5 years. The divorce I was filing tomorrow. When I finished, there was a long silence. Finally, he said, "You did that for me." "Yes. For 5 years, you stayed in a marriage you hated. Because of me. Because I love you. Because you deserved a chance at life." I heard him crying on the other end. I should have known. I should have seen it. There was nothing to see. I said gently. I made sure of that. I didn't want you feeling guilty. Didn't want you thinking you owed me anything. You were 19. You were just trying to survive. "I can't believe you did this," he said. "I can't believe you sacrificed 5 years. It wasn't all sacrifice. I learned things. About myself. About what I'm capable of. About how strong I can be when I have to be. What can I do?" he asked. "How can I help?" "Just be happy. Live your life. That's all I ever wanted." We talked for another hour. About his job, his girlfriend, his plans for the future. Normal things. Things that reminded me why I'd made the choice I made. When we hung up, I felt lighter than I had in years. That night, I barely slept. Not from anxiety, but from anticipation. At 8:30 a.m., I was dressed and ready. I met Victoria at her office at 9 a.m. sharp. She had the divorce papers ready. Everything spelled out clearly. 5-year marriage, irreconcilable differences, request for asset division per prenuptial agreement, request for the $200,000 promised in written correspondence. We filed at the courthouse by 10 a.m. Gordon would be served by end of day. Victoria walked me through what would happen next. The waiting period. The likelihood that Gordon would contest. The evidence we'd present if he did. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. "I've been ready for 5 years. I spent the rest of the day apartment hunting. I'd saved enough for a security deposit and first month's rent on a modest 1-bedroom in Queens. Nothing fancy, but it would be mine. No doorman, no marble. Just a small space where I could breathe." Gordon called at 3 p.m. I didn't answer. He called again at 3:15, at 3:30, at 4. By 5 p.m., he'd left 8 voicemails. I listened to them in order. The first was angry. "How dare you? We're not done talking about this." By the 4th, his tone had changed. "Please call me back. We can work this out." The 8th was quiet. Just, "I'm sorry. For everything. I'm sorry." I didn't call back. Mitchell texted that evening. "Heard you filed. Gordon's losing his mind. Just wanted to check that you're okay." "I'm okay," I typed back. "Better than okay. Good. You deserve to be." 3 days later, Gordon's lawyer contacted Victoria. He wanted to negotiate. He'd agree to the divorce. Agree to the asset split. But he was contesting the $200,000. Claimed it was never a serious promise. Just drunken rambling. Victoria sent back the screenshots. The emails. The documented timeline of when the money was transferred from my brother's treatment versus when the promise was made. Everything time-stamped. Everything preserved. Gordon's lawyer went quiet for 2 days, then came back with a counteroffer. He'd pay $150,000. Final offer. Victoria looked at me. "Your call." I thought about it. Thought about the principle. About holding him to exactly what he'd promised. But I also thought about how much I wanted this to be over. How much I wanted to move forward instead of staying trapped in legal battles. "Take it," I said. "I just want to be done." The settlement was finalized 4 weeks later. Divorce granted. I got half our savings, half the value of Gordon's stocks accumulated during our marriage, and $150,000. Total payout came to just over $340,000. Enough to start fresh. Enough to never be desperate again. I signed the papers in Victoria's office on a Tuesday afternoon. Gordon wasn't there. He'd sent his lawyer to handle everything. When it was done, Victoria shook my hand. "You're free," she said. I walked out of that office into February sunshine. I'd already moved into my apartment in Queens. Already started making it feel like home. Small things. Plants on the windowsill. Books on the shelf. My own space. My own rules. My brother helped me move the last of my boxes that weekend. He kept apologizing. Kept saying he should have known. I finally stopped him. "Listen to me," I said. "You were a kid who got hurt through no fault of your own. I was an adult who made a choice. A hard choice. But it was mine to make. And I'd make it again." He hugged me tight. "Thank you," he whispered. "For my life. Thank you for being worth it," I said back. I started therapy in March. My therapist, Dr. Brennan, asked me what I wanted to work on. I told her I needed to figure out who I was outside of being Gordon's wife. Outside of being the person who sacrificed everything for family. I needed to find myself again. It was harder than I expected. 5 years of making myself small doesn't disappear overnight. 5 years of being told you should be grateful. That you're not enough. That you're a charity case. Those voices lingered even after Gordon was gone. But slowly, I started to remember who I'd been before. The girl who challenged Gordon in college debates. Who refused to give him the time of day because she knew her worth. who had plans and dreams and a future that didn't revolve around anyone else. I quit my receptionist job in April, applied to nursing school. I'd always wanted to work in healthcare, wanted to help people the way the nurses had helped my brother. I got accepted to a program starting in the fall. Mitchell and I stayed in touch. Not often, just occasional texts. He'd check in, ask how I was doing, tell me about his life. He'd broken up with his longtime girlfriend, said watching my situation made him realize he'd been settling too, that he deserved better. We met for coffee once in May. It wasn't romantic, just two people who'd survived something difficult and come out the other side. In June, I got an unexpected call from Gordon. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello," I said. "It's me." His voice sounded different. Tired. "I know. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because my lawyer told me to. Not because I want anything. Just because it's true." "Okay," I said. "I've been in therapy," he continued, trying to figure out why I did what I did, why I treated you the way I did. "My therapist thinks it's because I never actually dealt with my own stuff, just tried to control everything around me instead." "That sounds accurate. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see it now, what I did, what I put you through. You were right about everything. I appreciate you saying that," I said carefully. "Are you happy now?" he asked. "I'm getting there." "Good. You deserve to be happy." We hung up. I don't know if Gordon actually changed. Don't know if therapy helped him or if he just wanted to feel better about himself. But it didn't matter anymore. His journey wasn't my concern. Mine was. Nursing school started in September. The work was intense. Anatomy, physiology, clinical rotations. But I loved it. Loved learning. Loved feeling like I was building towards something real. Something that mattered. My classmates were younger mostly. Fresh out of undergrad. They'd ask about my life and I'd give them the simple version. Was married, got divorced, starting over. They didn't need to know the details. Didn't need to know about the deal or the 5 years or any of it. But there was one classmate, Nathaniel, who seemed to see through my carefully constructed walls. We got paired for a project in October. Spent long hours in the library working on presentations about cardiac care. One night after we'd finished, he asked if I wanted to grab dinner. "Just as friends," he clarified quickly. "I'm not trying to hit on you or anything. You just seem like you have stories. And I like stories." We went to a small Vietnamese restaurant near campus. Over pho and spring rolls, I found myself telling him everything. Not the sanitized version, the real version, the deal, the 5 years, Gordon's affairs, the divorce, everything. Nathaniel listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "That's the most incredible thing I've ever heard." "Incredible in what way?" I asked. "You saved your brother's life. Then you saved your own. Most people don't have that kind of strength." "I didn't feel strong most of the time. That's what makes it strength," he said. "Doing the hard thing even when you're terrified." We became friends after that. Real friends. He'd text me before exams to check if I needed a study partner. I'd bring him coffee during our early morning clinical rotations. It was easy, uncomplicated, exactly what I needed. By December, almost a year after I'd filed for divorce, I felt like a different person. I'd cut my hair, started dressing differently, not for anyone else, just for me. I joined a book club, started running in the mornings, small things that made me feel alive. On January 19th, what would have been my 6th anniversary, I woke up in my apartment in Queens and smiled. 1 year ago, I'd walked away from Gordon, filed for divorce, started my life over. I texted my brother, "Thank you for being worth it." He texted back immediately, "Thank you for everything. Love you." I spent the day studying for midterms. That evening, Nathaniel invited a group of us from class to his apartment for game night. It was silly and loud and fun. At one point, someone asked me if I'd ever been married. "Yeah," I said casually. "For 5 years. Didn't work out." "Do you regret it?" they asked. I thought about it. About Gordon. About the deal. About everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret it. It taught me what I'm capable of. Taught me that I can survive anything." Nathaniel caught my eye from across the room and smiled. Later that night, walking home through the cold January air, I thought about where I'd been a year ago, trapped in a marriage that was killing me slowly, counting down days like a prisoner. Now I was free, building a career, making new friends, creating a life on my own terms. My phone buzzed, a text from Mitchell, "Happy 1-year freedom anniversary." I smiled and texted back, "Best year of my life." And it was. Not because everything was perfect, not because I had it all figured out, but because for the first time in 5 years, my life was mine. My choices were mine. My future was mine. I thought about Gordon sometimes, wondered if he ever really understood what he'd lost, not me specifically, but the chance to have a real partnership, a real marriage. He'd treated our relationship like a transaction, and that's exactly what it became. But I also thought about what I'd learned from those 5 years. I learned that love shouldn't feel like debt, that marriage shouldn't feel like imprisonment, that you can survive so much more than you think you can, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. In February, I started my 2nd semester of nursing school. The coursework got harder, clinical rotations got more intense, but I was thriving. My instructors noticed, started pulling me aside to say I had a gift for patient care, that I should consider specializing in trauma or emergency medicine. One rotation placed me in a trauma unit. I watched the nurses there work with efficiency and compassion, holding hands with scared patients, explaining procedures in calm voices, being the steady presence in chaos. I saw myself in that role, saw the kind of nurse I wanted to become. During one shift, a young man came in after a car accident, head trauma. His parents were frantic. I watched the lead nurse, Patricia, calm them down, explain what was happening, promise them their son was getting the best care. I saw my own parents in them, saw my brother in that hospital bed. After the shift, I found Patricia in the break room. "Can I ask you something?" I said. She looked up from her coffee. "Sure. How do you do it? How do you stay calm when families are falling apart?" Patricia smiled. "You remember that you're there to help. That's it. You can't fix everything. Can't save everyone. But you can be present. You can be honest. You can be kind. That's what people need most when their world is crumbling." I thought about that conversation for weeks. About being present. About being kind. About showing up for people in their darkest moments. That's what the nurses did for my brother. What they did for my family. And that's what I wanted to do for others. Nathaniel and I kept growing closer as friends. He'd been through his own difficult experiences. A father who left when he was young, a mother who struggled with addiction. He understood complicated family dynamics, understood survival. One night in March, we were studying late at the library when he asked, "Do you ever think about dating again?" "Sometimes," I said honestly. "But I'm not ready. I need more time to just be myself." "That makes sense. But when you are ready, you're going to make someone very lucky." "Why do you say that?" "Because you know what real commitment looks like, what sacrifice looks like. Most people our age, we're all just playing at adult relationships. But you've lived it. You know what it costs." I'd never thought about it that way. In April, I got a call from Victoria, my divorce lawyer. She'd become something of a mentor. We'd grab lunch occasionally and she'd tell me about her cases, about other women fighting their way out of bad situations. She called to tell me about a new client, a woman in a situation eerily similar to mine, married to pay off family debt, trapped by financial obligation. "Can I give her your number?" Victoria asked. "I think hearing your story might help her." Of course. The woman's name was Bridget. We met for coffee. She was 26, married for 3 years to a man twice her age. He'd paid off her mother's medical bills in exchange for marriage. She had 2 more years on their agreement. I told her my story, every detail. She cried. Not from sadness, but from recognition, from knowing she wasn't alone. "How did you survive it?" she asked. "I counted days," I said. "I built a life in my head for after, and I documented everything, every promise, every agreement, every moment that proved what the marriage really was." "Do you think I can make it 2 more years?" "I made it 5, you can make it 2. But Bridget, listen to me. The moment that agreement is up, you run. You don't look back. You don't give him another chance. You take what's yours and you build a new life." She nodded. "I will. I promise." We stayed in touch after that. I became a resource for her, a reminder that there was life after, that she could survive and thrive. By May, I was halfway through nursing school, top of my class, getting recommendations from instructors, making plans for where I'd apply for jobs after graduation. I wanted to stay in New York. This city had been the backdrop for the worst years of my life, but now it was becoming the backdrop for the best. My brother graduated from his master's program that month. The whole family came to the ceremony. My parents, my aunts and uncles, everyone who'd been there during his recovery. Watching him walk across that stage, healthy and whole and brilliant, I felt everything click into place. This is why, I thought. This is what it was all for. At the reception afterward, my brother gave a speech. He thanked the professors, the program, his girlfriend. Then he looked directly at me. "And I need to thank my sister," he said. "Most of you don't know this story, but 6 years ago, she made a sacrifice that saved my life. She gave up her own happiness so I could have a future. Everything I've accomplished, every success I'll ever have, it starts with her." The room applauded. My parents were crying. My brother came over and hugged me tight. "I'm so proud of you," I whispered. "I learned from the best," he whispered back. Summer came. I took a break from school to work full-time at a hospital, getting real-world experience, building my skills. The work was exhausting but fulfilling. Every shift reminded me why I'd chosen this path. One day in July, I ran into Gordon, completely by accident. I was leaving the hospital after a double shift, exhausted and hungry. He was walking into a restaurant across the street. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he walked over. "Hi," he said. "Hi, you look good. Different." "I am different," he nodded. "I'm glad. You deserve to be happy." "Thank you." We stood there in awkward silence. Finally, he said, "I've been seeing someone. A therapist helped me realize I need to actually work on myself before I can be in a real relationship." "That's good," I said. "I hope it works out." "And you? Are you seeing anyone?" "No. I'm focused on school, on building my career, on myself." Gordon smiled. A real smile, not the performative one I'd grown used to. "That sounds perfect for you." We said goodbye. As I walked away, I realized I didn't feel anger anymore, didn't feel resentment, just a distant sadness for what could have been if we'd both been different people. But we weren't different people. We were who we were, and that marriage needed to end. August brought my second year of nursing school. New challenges, new rotations. I was placed in pediatrics for 6 weeks, working with sick children and terrified parents. It was the hardest rotation yet. but also the most rewarding. I thought about my brother constantly during those weeks, about how scared my parents had been, about how the nurses had been lifelines. Now I was that lifeline for other families. One night, a mother grabbed my hand after I'd sat with her daughter through a painful procedure. "Thank you," she said, "for making her feel safe." "That's my job," I said. "No," she insisted. "Lots of nurses do the medical stuff, but you made her feel safe. That's different. That's a gift." I carried those words with me for months. Nathaniel and I remained close friends throughout the year, studied together, grabbed meals together, celebrated successes, and commiserated over failures. People assumed we were dating, but we weren't. We were just two people who understood each other. Then one night in October, after a particularly brutal exam, we went out for drinks with classmates. Everyone was celebrating, blowing off steam. At some point, Nathaniel pulled me aside. "I need to tell you something," he said. "Okay, I know we said we're just friends, and that's been great, but I have feelings for you. Real feelings. And I needed to be honest about that." My first instinct was panic. I wasn't ready. Couldn't be ready. But then I looked at Nathaniel, really looked at him, at the way he'd shown up for me consistently, at how he'd never pushed, never demanded, just been present. "I care about you too," I said carefully, "but I'm still figuring things out. Still healing." "I know," he said. "I'm not asking for anything. Just wanted you to know where I stand, and I'm willing to wait, for as long as it takes. Or if it never happens, I'm okay being your friend. That's incredibly patient of you. You're worth being patient for." We didn't start dating that night, or the next week, or even the next month, but something shifted between us. An understanding, a possibility. By December, 2 years after my divorce, I felt ready to try. Nathaniel and I went on our first official date. Nothing fancy, pizza and a movie, talking for hours afterward about everything and nothing. It was easy, natural, the opposite of what I'd had with Gordon. "I'm scared," I admitted, "of messing this up, of bringing my baggage into something good." Nathaniel took my hand. "Everyone has baggage. What matters is what you do with it. And you've done the work. You've healed. You're ready." "How do you know?" "Because I've watched you for 2 years. I've seen you grow and change and become this incredible person. You're not the same woman who walked away from that marriage. You're better." I kissed him, soft and tentative. He kissed me back. And for the first time in years, I felt hope. Real hope. Not just for surviving, but for thriving. We took things slow. No rush, no pressure. Just two people building something real, something healthy. My brother met Nathaniel in January. They hit it off immediately. Afterward, my brother pulled me aside. "He's good for you," my brother said. "I think so too. You deserve this. You deserve to be happy." I'm getting there. And I was, step by step, day by day, building a life I'd only dreamed about during those 5 years with Gordon. In March, I graduated from nursing school, top of my class, multiple job offers. I chose a position in a trauma unit at a major hospital, the same hospital where I'd done my hardest rotation, where Patricia had taught me about being present. My family came to graduation, my parents, my brother and his girlfriend, Nathaniel. Even Mitchell showed up, which surprised me. "Congratulations," he said. "You did it. We did it," I corrected. "Everyone who believed in me, who supported me, we all did it." That night, celebrating with my family, I thought about the girl I'd been 6 years ago. Desperate, trapped, making an impossible choice. I thought about the woman I'd become, strong, independent, free. It wasn't a straight line from there to here. There were setbacks, moments of doubt, times I wanted to give up, but I didn't. I kept going, kept fighting, kept believing there was something better waiting, and there was. I started my job as a trauma nurse in April. The work was intense, long shifts, difficult cases, but I loved it. Every day, I got to be the person for others that those nurses had been for my brother. Got to make a difference in people's lives during their darkest moments. Nathaniel and I moved in together that summer. A small apartment in Brooklyn. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Built on choice, on love, on mutual respect. We hung photos on the walls. Mine from nursing school graduation, his from his own accomplishments. Pictures of us together, of my brother and his girlfriend, of friends and family. A life documented not in screenshots and evidence, but in genuine moments of joy. One evening in August, sitting on our tiny balcony, Nathaniel asked, "Do you ever regret those 5 years with Gordon?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Parts of it," I said. "I regret the pain, the humiliation, the feeling of being trapped. But I don't regret the choice. Without that choice, my brother wouldn't have had his life. And without those 5 years, I wouldn't have learned what I'm capable of. Wouldn't be who I am now." That's a healthy way to look at it. "Therapy helped?" I laughed. We sat in comfortable silence watching the sunset. My phone buzzed. A text from Bridget, the woman I'd mentored. She'd reached her 5-year mark, filed for divorce, started her new life. "Thank you," her message said, "for showing me it was possible." I smiled and texted back, "You did the hard part. Proud of you." That night, lying in bed next to Nathaniel, I thought about all the women out there making impossible choices, sacrificing themselves for family, for survival, for reasons that feel insurmountable in the moment. I wanted them to know it gets better. The choices you make in desperation don't define you forever. You can survive. You can rebuild. You can thrive. In September, my brother got engaged. His girlfriend, Andrea, was wonderful. kind and smart and perfect for him. He asked me to be his best woman at the wedding. I cried when he asked. Of course, I said. I'd be honored. The wedding was planned for the following summer. A small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Everything Gordon's and my wedding wasn't. This would be about love, about commitment, about two people choosing each other. As fall turned to winter, Nathaniel and I settled into our rhythm. Work, home, quiet evenings, weekend adventures, building a foundation slowly and carefully. No rush, no pressure. One December evening, 3 years after my divorce, Nathaniel cooked dinner. Nothing fancy, pasta and salad, but he'd lit candles, put on music. When we sat down, he seemed nervous. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, he said. I just wanted to tell you something. Okay, I love you. I know we haven't said it yet. I've been waiting for the right time, and I think this is it. I love you. My eyes filled with tears. Good tears. I love you too. We didn't get engaged that night. Didn't rush into anything. Just acknowledged what we both already knew. That this was real. That this was different. That this was worth protecting. The holidays came. I spent Christmas with Nathaniel's family, met his mother, who'd gotten sober 2 years ago, met his younger sister, who reminded me of myself at that age, full of potential and hope. New Year's Eve, we stayed home, just the two of us. At midnight, as fireworks went off across the city, Nathaniel kissed me. Happy New Year, he said. Happy New Year. 4 years since I'd made the deal with Gordon. 3 years since I'd walked away. And now, standing in an apartment I'd chosen, with a man I loved by choice, not obligation, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, deep, lasting peace. The kind that comes from knowing you survived the worst and came out stronger. From knowing your life is yours. Your choices are yours. Your future is yours. In January, Victoria called. She'd been named partner at her law firm. Part of her new role included starting a program to help women in situations like mine. Women trapped by financial obligations masquerading as marriages. I want you to be part of it, she said. Speaking to these women, showing them it's possible to get out and rebuild. I'd be honored, I said. The first workshop was in February. 12 women, all with different stories but the same core situation. Marriages based on transactions, survival, desperation. I stood in front of them and told my story. All of it. The good, the bad, the 5 years of counting days, the moment I walked away. Everything that came after. When I finished, one woman raised her hand. How did you know when you were ready to date again? She asked. I didn't know, I said honestly. I just felt it. Felt like I'd done enough work on myself. Like I understood what I wanted and what I deserved. And I found someone who was willing to meet me where I was, who didn't rush me, who let me heal at my own pace. Another woman asked, do you ever talk to your ex-husband? No, I said. We don't have children. We don't have shared property. There's no reason to stay in contact. I've moved on. He's moved on. That chapter is closed. Do you forgive him? Someone else asked. I thought about that question. I don't know if forgiveness is the right word, I said. I understand why he did what he did. I understand his perspective, but I don't excuse it. And I don't need to forgive him to move forward. I just needed to let go of the anger, let go of the resentment, free myself from being defined by what he did to me. The women nodded, understanding, processing. After the workshop, several came up to thank me, to tell me their stories, to ask for advice. I gave them my contact information, told them to reach out anytime. This became a regular thing. Once a month, I'd speak at Victoria's workshops, share my experience, answer questions, be living proof that life goes on, that you can rebuild, that you can be happy. In March, Nathaniel surprised me with a weekend trip. Upstate New York, a small cabin by a lake. We spent 2 days hiking, reading, talking, disconnecting from the world. On our last evening there, sitting by the fire, he said, I've been thinking about the future. Yeah? I want to build a life with you. Not just an apartment, not just a relationship. A real life, marriage, kids maybe, growing old together, all of it. My heart raced. I want that too. I'm not proposing right now, he clarified quickly. I want to do it right. I want it to be special. I just wanted you to know that's where my head is. That's what I'm working toward. I appreciate you telling me. Are you ready for that? For marriage again? I am, I said. Because this is different. You're different. We're different. This isn't about obligation or debt or survival. This is about choice. And I choose you. We kissed as the fire crackled. Outside, the lake was perfectly still. Inside, my heart was full. April brought my brother's wedding. A beautiful ceremony in a garden. Intimate and perfect. Standing beside him as he married Andrea, I thought about journeys. His from near death to this moment of pure joy. Mine from desperation to freedom. In my speech at the reception, I talked about second chances. About how life can take everything from you and somehow give it back transformed. About how the hardest moments can lead to the most beautiful outcomes. My brother cried. Andrea cried. Even my dad, who never cried, teared up. Afterward, my brother pulled me aside. None of this happens without you, he said. You know that, right? I don't get this wedding, this life, this happiness. None of it exists without what you did. You would have found a way, I said. No, he insisted. I wouldn't have. You saved me, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to deserve that sacrifice. You already deserve it, I said. Just by living. Just by being happy. That's all I ever wanted. We hugged. Two siblings who'd survived the impossible and come out on the other side. May came. Then June. Life continued its steady rhythm. Work, home, Nathaniel, family, friends, all the normal, beautiful pieces of a life I'd built from scratch. On July 4th, Nathaniel and I went to the beach with friends. Spent the day swimming and laughing and being wonderfully, normally happy. As the sun set, Nathaniel asked me to walk with him along the water. We walked in silence for a while. Then he stopped, turned to face me, got down on one knee. I know you've been married before, he said. I know that marriage meant something different to you, something hard, but I want you to know that this is different. This is me asking you to choose me, to build a life with me, not because you have to, not because you owe me anything, but because we love each other, because we're better together. He pulled out a ring, simple, beautiful, perfect. Will you marry me? He asked. I was crying, happy tears. Yes, I said. Yes, I choose you. Our friends cheered from down the beach. Someone had been recording. Nathaniel stood and kissed me. The ring slid onto my finger, a symbol not of obligation but of promise, of choice, of love freely given. That night, lying in bed, I looked at the ring on my finger, thought about the last ring I'd worn, the one that felt like a chain. This ring felt different, lighter, like possibility instead of prison. We set a date for the following spring, a small ceremony, just like my brother's, intimate and meaningful. August brought preparations, looking at venues, choosing flowers, making guest lists. All the things I'd done mechanically with Gordon, I did joyfully with Nathaniel. My parents were thrilled. My brother and Andrea offered to help with everything. Mitchell, who I'd stayed friendly with, congratulated me via text. This is what you deserved all along, he wrote. Thank you for being there when I needed someone to understand, I wrote back. In September, 4 years after graduating nursing school, I was promoted, lead trauma nurse on my unit. It came with more responsibility, more challenges, but also validation that I'd chosen the right path. Patricia, my mentor, pulled me aside. I knew you'd be amazing at this, she said. You have the skills and the heart. Thank you for teaching me, I said, for showing me what kind of nurse I wanted to be. You taught yourself, she said. I just pointed you in the right direction. October brought planning. November brought final decisions. December brought peace. In January, 5 years exactly from when I'd walked away from Gordon, I stood in front of friends and family and married Nathaniel. The ceremony was everything I'd wanted. Simple, honest, full of love. When the officiant asked if I took Nathaniel to be my husband, I said yes without hesitation. Not because I had to, not because I owed anyone, but because I wanted to, because I chose this. We honeymooned in Italy, 2 weeks of exploring and eating and being wonderfully happy. On our last night in Rome, sitting at a small cafe, Nathaniel raised his glass. To new beginnings, he said. To choosing our own story, I added. We clinked glasses and drank. Around us, the city buzzed with life. Couples walking hand in hand, families laughing over dinner, people living their lives, just like we were living ours. When we returned home, life resumed its beautiful, normal rhythm. Work, friends, family. Nathaniel and I talked about starting a family of our own someday. Not yet, but someday, when we were ready, when we'd built an even stronger foundation. In March, I got a call from Bridget. She'd met someone, started dating, was learning to trust again. Can you believe it? She asked. Can you believe we both made it out and found happiness? I absolutely believe it, I said. We did the work. We earned this. In April, Victoria's program celebrated helping its 100th woman navigate out of a transactional marriage. There was a small reception, women from all walks of life sharing their stories, their victories, their ongoing journeys. I stood in that room and felt overwhelming gratitude for surviving, for choosing to rebuild, for having the strength to walk away when I needed to. That night, home with Nathaniel, I reflected on everything. On the scared 29-year-old who'd made an impossible choice. On the woman who'd counted down days for 5 years. On the person who'd walked away and started over. On who I'd become through all of it. I'm proud of us, I said to Nathaniel. Us? The version of me that survived. And the version of me that's thriving now. All of us. We all worked together to get here. Nathaniel smiled. I'm proud of you too. Years passed. Beautiful, normal, wonderful years. Nathaniel and I bought a house. Had 2 children. Built careers we loved. Created a life that felt like home. My brother and Andrea had kids too. Our families grew close. Holidays together, summer vacations, all the normal, beautiful things I dreamed about during those 5 years with Gordon. I still spoke at Victoria's workshops occasionally. Still mentored women navigating impossible situations. Still shared my story as proof that survival is possible, that rebuilding is possible, that happiness is possible. One woman asked me once if I ever regretted the 5 years I lost. I didn't lose 5 years, I told her. I invested them. In my brother's life. In my own strength. In learning what I'm capable of. Yes, they were hard. Yes, I wouldn't choose them again. But they weren't wasted. They made me who I am. And who are you? She asked. Someone who knows her worth, I said. Someone who chooses her own life. Someone who survived and thrived. That's all any of us can hope to be. Now, sitting on my porch watching my children play, I think about journeys. About how the hardest roads sometimes lead to the most beautiful destinations. about how desperation can transform into strength, about how the choices we make in darkness can eventually bring us into light. Gordon's name rarely crosses my mind anymore. When it does, I don't feel anger, don't feel resentment, just a distant acknowledgement of what was, of a chapter that's closed, of a version of myself that no longer exists. I heard through mutual acquaintances that he remarried, that he's trying to be different, better. I hope that's true. Not for my sake, but for whoever he's with now. Everyone deserves the chance to grow, to change, to become better versions of themselves. But his journey is his. Mine is mine, and mine has led here, to a life I chose, to a family I love, to a career that fulfills me, to a marriage built on respect and partnership and genuine love. The sun is setting now. Nathaniel calls from inside that dinner's ready. The kids run toward the house, laughing. I follow them inside, into the warmth, into the life I built from the ashes of what could have destroyed me. This is what freedom looks like. This is what choosing yourself looks like. This is what surviving and thriving looks like. And it was worth every single day of those 5 years to get here.